right. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. We are thrilled to bring this webinar to our membership base. This is the power of our network coming together. In the fall of 2022, during our P2 retailer meetings, we talked about the importance of SEO, and I was shocked that many of our P2 members, thriving retailers, still were struggling with SEO. Thankfully, one of our retailers mentioned working with 2 Octobers, who, when we reached out to the team at 2 Octobers, was thrilled to work with us to bring this conversation today forward. Love that our network is so amazing and our bicycle industry family supports one another. We also are happy to have Matt from Dedham Bike join us today to talk about his experience working with 2 Octobers. So without further ado, this conversation is super important, really dedicated to helping you drive and thrive your business forward. Brett, thank you for being here. And reminder, we will hold questions to the end. Any questions that we have along the way, please use that chat function. Go ahead, throw them in there. And following Brett and Matt's presentation, we will wrap up today with a question and answer session. Brett, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're really appreciative to be here. Usually when I'm doing talks or webinars, it's not to a full room of people who are in an industry that I really care about. So I'm really stoked to be here, and thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, you guys can all hear me okay? Perfect. Well, we'll just get going. So this webinar is about your bike shop and the potential for making more money via e-commerce, and specifically how you can do that using search engine optimization and pay-per-click marketing. I've kind of structured this talk to speak to the 3 types of people who I think might be joining this webinar, and that would be, one, the people who are sort of curious about e-commerce, not really sure if it's a good fit for them. The people who have just started and maybe are a little bit lost or want some tips. And then the third group would be people who have committed to e-commerce, are on their way, but just want some best practices and some guidance to help them take their performance to the next level. So with that in mind, I'll jump to the next slide. Quickly about us. So I represent a company called 2 Octobers. We do digital marketing for lots of different industries, big and small. We do search engine optimization, paid media, which is what pay-per-click marketing falls into, and analytics in order to help our clients generate more revenue. A lot of our clients are actually bike shops too, which is really exciting for me. And I think we're at 9 or 10 clients right now in the bicycle industry. And as somebody who has worked in bike shops and is really passionate about bikes, it's really exciting to come to work and try to help businesses that I care about. And one thing that I'm really proud of about working at 2 Octobers is that we're a B Corp. If you don't know what a B Corp is, it basically means that you are held to a pretty high standard of corporate social responsibility, environmental impacts, business transparency, stuff like that. I think QVP is also B Corp and all of its subsidiaries, for example. But yeah, really excited to work for a company that is trying to do good out in the world. Typically, when I do a webinar, I'm joined by a member of my team and they introduce me. So if it's a little awkward me talking about myself, sorry about that. But I do content and SEO for 2 Octobers. I used to work in a bike shop. My 30-second story is I studied something sort of quasi-marketing in college and wasn't really stoked about it. And after college, I went back to the bike shop I was working at in the summers, and I stayed there for 5 years, and it became a really important part of my life. I learned how to work hard there and grew a passion for bikes, specifically bike travel. I think that picture is somewhere in Idaho or Montana when I did the Great Divide. But another thing that was special about my time in bike shop is it gave me huge insights into how the outdoor industry works, and some of the pitfalls and challenges that you guys face. And it also introduced me to my coworker, Noah Lerner, who taught me a lot of pretty much everything I know about working in a bike shop. And also, once he started his own business doing search engine optimization for bike shops, I jumped on board and here I am. So pretty excited to be here, obviously. And another exciting part of this is we're going to be able to get some insights from Matt Donavan over at Dedham Bike in Massachusetts. Matt's a client of ours. He's been doing e-commerce for a while now, and he's got tons of experience in the bicycle industry. And so he'll be able to give his perspective, and I'm excited to have him join us. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about how e-commerce contributes to revenue growth. We're going to talk about how search engine optimization and pay-per-click marketing can contribute to that growth, why they're important to that success, and why it's advantageous to invest in both simultaneously instead of just one or the other. So some of that stuff in the beginning is going to be for those people who are maybe considering e-commerce, not really sure if it's a good fit or if it's worth investing. The next part is going to be people who have made the decision to go for it and are at some stage of either starting out or wanting to take it to the next level. So we'll have best practices for people who are starting out and want to improve. And then also some tips from some of our retailers, stuff that's worked for them that hopefully you guys will find really helpful. Again, I'm just really excited to be able to help out. And if you guys have any questions, either at the end of this talk or later on, you'll have my contact info by the end of this, and totally reach out and we'd be psyched to help you. So the first section is going to be pretty basic, just a little bit about e-commerce. Obviously, we're talking about selling stuff to people online via a website. But in terms of how it actually works to grow revenue, you're going to be expanding your reach. So you don't need to just worry about your local area and your time zones and holidays or off-season stuff. You can expand your reach and sell to people all over the country. You'll be able to supplement your in-store sales and kind of help mitigate slow periods. You'll be able to adapt to the way consumers like to shop now. And I'll be the first one to say I'm definitely a local bike shop supporter, and I always try to get what I need from those guys. But, you know, for example, in the fall, I was going down to Moab and slashed a sidewall with a week to go and couldn't get something from the guys down the street and had to buy online from somebody somewhere. And that's just kind of how it goes sometimes, more and more. And then it'll also let you compete with big business. And what I mean by that is, you know, you might have local competitors that are online. Obviously, there's the competitive cyclists, the Jensens, all of those websites. And then to some extent, what we've seen lately is even competing with the manufacturers themselves. So getting in on e-commerce can help you get a piece of that pie, because there's money to be made for sure. So we'll jump into why search engine optimization and pay-per-click marketing are important and why they help grow your e-commerce revenue. Search engine optimization is essentially just improving a website's visibility on search. Mostly Google is what we focus on. There's other search engines like Bing, but what we're trying to do is help you rank higher so that you can bring more people to your website in a nutshell. In terms of what it looks like, I've got a screen share or a screenshot of a search that I did a couple of days ago, and it's Pivot Bike Salt Lake City. I'm out in Utah, so I just went with that. There's a few things that we see here. Some of this is able to be influenced by search engine optimization, and some of it's not. Obviously, the stuff that says ads is going to be falling into the pay-per-click marketing phase of this. Is not what we can influence with search engine optimization. But what we can influence is what's below the ads that we call organic listings. And so what we've got here is a Pivot Cycles, Guthrie Bicycle. It's a local bike shop in Salt Lake City. And so what we're doing here is we're trying to help Google decide that our website is the best fit and match for a specific keyword and related to a certain topic or certain area. So Pivot Bike Salt Lake City, Google is pretty sure that this is the best result. And another example that we have over on the right is a local business result. And this is populated by Google Business Profile, which is a super, super important part of your business. If you haven't really looked at yours in a while or don't have one set up, that's probably the first thing you should do when you get out of this meeting. But local results related to a certain area, we can also influence that stuff with search engine optimization. So we're not paying for these spots. These are spots that Google is organically ranking us highly for because we've done work on your website to make you the best fit for a certain search. So that's kind of what it is in a nutshell. But why is it important to e-commerce success? Obviously, we just talked about this. You're going to have better rankings. Better rankings means you are going to probably get more clicks because we know that nobody's really clicking through to the 5th page of Google much. It's mostly going to result in a click on the 1st page. So when you have better rankings, you're going to get more traffic and you're going to get more people coming to your website. When you have more people coming to your website, you're going to have better chances of turning them into customers. And a great part about search engine optimization is we're not just focused on bringing you a bunch of people and that's it. We're focused on bringing you traffic and qualified traffic and the right traffic, the people who are looking for the stuff that makes you money. So it's really targeted our efforts, and we can help you rank better for the things that you care about, like the products, brands, categories that help you make money. And obviously, when you're bringing people who are interested in what you're selling already to your website, you're going to have a better conversion rate. You're going to have a better chance of turning the people who come to your website into somebody who makes a purchase. Another example of why it's important is just giving yourself a competitive edge. Like I talked about on the other slide, there's a bunch of people making money online right now, and some of them might be your local competitors. And being able to sell e-commerce products means that you can kind of have a piece of that pie and maybe even get a competitive edge on some of your other competitors locally and nationally. And then probably the most important distinction to make for search engine optimization is, again, we're not paying for clicks. We're putting a bunch of work in on the front end to improve a website. And then over time, that starts to rank naturally and organically better and better. And it's kind of like a forest. If you need an anecdote there, it's kind of like plant the seeds, and over time, your site will get better and better. And what we see a lot with our clients that we work with is that over time, the traffic that you get from search engine optimization efforts actually becomes more than the amount of people that you're getting through pay-per-click marketing. And that's just because over time, Google starts to pay attention to what is doing well and what people are like page views and how content is matching up with search intent. And we've seen for some of our clients that some of the most important pages that we've built for people take like 6 months or more to really start to take off. But once it takes off, you don't need to pay for those clicks anymore. That once people are clicking on it, it's like free traffic. So that's search engine optimization and why it's important. There's a lot more to say, but I'm trying to give you guys the highlights so we can make it through all of this. We'll shift over to pay-per-click. And obviously, pay-per-click, you're paying for each click. You're getting advertisements out on the search engine result pages and other places on the internet. And you're only paying a fee once somebody clicks on that ad. Same search result here, but the PPC results are the ones that are denoted by the ads up in the top left. And there's different kinds of ways that you can do PPC. You can do shopping ads, like the first list of products that go directly to a product page. And then you can also pay for ads that go directly to a website's homepage or a specific page on a website. There's lots that you can do, but generally speaking, you'll see and be able to see pretty clearly what's an ad and what's not on the search engine result pages That being said, we've seen more and more popping up, and that's making it more competitive for search engine optimization and just other ads in general. But this is where they show up, and we'll talk about why they're important now. So the biggest difference between pay-per-click and SEO is that once you get all of your products sorted and you get your ads and campaigns built, you can start making money immediately. You don't have to wait like you do with search engine optimization for Google to index a page, add it to its library, and start to rank it higher and higher. You can start making money on day one, so to speak. Similar to search engine optimization, you get more ads up there, you're going to get more clicks, and that'll help you sell more product. And you're focusing your ads on products and searches that you really care about. So you can target your efforts on bikes that you can ship or really expensive shoes, and you don't really need to worry so much about stuff like water bottles. And in that same vein, you can target your ads to, again, focus on the stuff that is high dollar, high margin, that's going to not give you a headache and make you money. A good example of brand awareness and how it relates to people looking to buy stuff for bikes is the Pros Closet has been a bigger and bigger presence on the search engine result pages over the past couple of years. And, I haven't really been clicking on them, but I know as just a consumer of bike stuff on the internet, they're definitely on my radar because I saw a bunch of ads and continue to see a bunch of ads. So even if people don't click on your ads, you're still working on your brand awareness, and that can play into the buyer journey later on and may give you a leg up. And then lastly, pay-per-click is helpful because it lets you compete with some of the bigger businesses. It's going to take, if you're starting from nothing, it's going to take you a while to rank organically in places on the first page and compete with big manufacturers and big online retailers. Whereas if you get in on the PPC market, you can kind of jump to the top of the pile and get up in the front of the search engine result pages a little bit easier than you would if you're just focusing on SEO. I guess the anecdote for PPC is like a race car because it's fast, turns heads, but the second you stop paying for clicks, you're not going to get more revenue from those ads. So got to keep buying gas. So to take it a step further, hopefully convinced or a few of you that it's worth looking into to do these two things, SEO and pay-per-click, but a lot of clients that we've talked to and worked with seem to gravitate to, which one do we need to focus on, or can we do one or the other? And I'm kind of here to tell you that they work better when they're working together, and I'll tell you why. If you just focus on search engine optimization, like I said before, it's going to take time. It's going to take you a while. It's going to take a lot of effort and just time of the year for the pages that we work on to start ranking better. The process for how things rank better is pretty complicated, and we have insights into anecdotally what influences ranking factors, and we know broadly what they're looking for, but the exact algorithm is not disclosed by Google, and because of that, nobody can be completely sure. We're just working on all of the best practices that we've seen from the data and use that data to make decisions. And there's a ton of stuff that Google does say about what it ranks content for and what is ranking factor and what's not. But again, it all takes time. So if you're just doing search engine optimization, you're not going to get that immediate result. Another part of search engine optimization that can be a challenge is that, like I said before, and in those screenshots that I shared, there's lots of ads, and there's also things called featured snippets. And featured snippets are basically Google compiling information across the web and kind of feeding it to you so you have an answer without even having to click on a page. A good example of a featured snippet is like the people also ask page, or a list of questions where if there's a question and then there's a few answers, you can click through and explore. Another example would be I think it's called the knowledge panel, where if you ask a basic question, oftentimes Google will just pull an answer from a website and just plaster it on the front page right at the top for you. And that stuff kind of robs search engine optimizing efforts, because it's just Google kind of taking those clicks away. And then point being, it's just a very competitive place, and without or just with doing search engine optimization, you might not have the best advantage. The last portion here is just that the buyer's journey is really complicated. Attributing a click and a purchase to a specific, or I should say a purchase to a specific channel is fairly difficult, because oftentimes, I mean, just think about how you search for stuff. You might search on your laptop while you're at work, and then again on your phone when you're at home, and maybe you see an organic listing that you check out the first time around, and then maybe you just click on an ad the second time. So there's a lot that we don't know about how exactly users navigate search. But what we do know is that by taking up more real estate with pay-per-click and search engine optimization, you're increasing your odds of bringing people to your website. If you only do PPC, like I said, you got to pay to play. And the second you stop paying, you're not going to get the results. And then secondly, if you're paying for ads and you haven't done any work on your website, you could, in theory, and probably are, sending people to pages that aren't really going to convert very well, because they maybe haven't been looked at. There's maybe a broken link. There's maybe not any images that are helpful or helpful descriptions. So by actually working on those pages, you can improve the performance of your ads, because they're more likely to convert if the pages that you're sending them to and the products that you're sending them to are really well built out. So just to recap, when you combine the two, you can make money short-term and long-term. You can make money right away with your PPC ads, while you're also investing in your long-term organic traffic with search engine optimization. You can also convert better, like I said, with those ads, because they're going to be pages that are been worked on and made better for those that visit. And then, like I said, real estate increase. When you're on more places, you're on the ads and you're on organic listings, you're going to give yourself a better opportunity to grab clicks. And when I say 1 + 1 = 3, and that's what we've found to be true, what I mean by that is we found that both channels work better and are complemented by each other when clients are doing both. If you're just doing one or the other, you'll have definitely some improvements, and it will help you grow your revenue, but it really takes it up a notch when those two channels are complementing each other. So all of that stuff was kind of geared towards the people who are on the fence maybe about e-commerce, and the people who aren't really sure if it's a good fit or how it would work for them. This next section is going to be more focused to the people who have either decided they want to go for it, have gone for it and need some help, or are looking for steps to take to help them reach the next level. And I've got some examples from Matt's website here to kind of help us go. But probably the simplest thing that you can do to get started is kind of what I talked about before, was just improving those pages that are going to be low funnel pages, like catalog pages and product pages that are really important to you. One of Matt's biggest brands is Trek. And so we try to do a lot of work for that brand, for those product pages, catalog pages, and even content, which we'll get to later. But the name of the game is make everything really unique and helpful. Unique because if you have the same page as every other retailer that's using the same site, Google doesn't really rank you any higher just on that page alone. And you want to make them really helpful too. So just think about what questions a user might have if they land on a specific catalog page or product page, and try to just give them the most information. You could think of it like this is your moment where you've ushered somebody into the sales floor, and now you're handing them over to your best sales guy who's going to take it from there and answer all their questions. So you want to add enticing media, like as many images on products and videos as you can find, and helpful descriptions. Title tags and meta descriptions is that bottom left screenshot, and that's what actually shows up on the search engine result pages. I don't have enough time to get into exactly what you want to write for these. I'm happy to answer questions later, but you want to have a solid title tag and an enticing meta description so that people want to click through on your page instead of, maybe the one below it or above it. And then lastly, you'll want to try to interlink, meaning link to related pages. So in this example for Trek bikes, this is a pretty main basic Trek bicycles catalog page, and we've got links to other Trek categories of bikes there. So interlinking can really help your users navigate and shop, and it can also help search engines. And a point I want to make about that is when you have links coming from related pages, you're helping both users and you're helping Google. What I mean by that is you're obviously helping users because your website is more navigable now and they can shop easier. And when you reduce friction in the process for navigating your website, your odds of getting a sale are better. But you're also helping Google too, because the way Google works is it has crawlers that go through your entire website and all your pages, and they index all of the text and the links that are on those pages. And if you do what I say on this particular slide, which is have a main page for all of the information about that topic, and then link out to all of your related pages, you'll be able to help Google more easily understand what your website's about, what your topic kind of level of content you have around that topic is. And anytime you grease the wheels and help Google do its job easier, you're improving your search engine optimization potential usually. So what I like to do is have a hub on a specific topic and link to all of those pages, and try to avoid any orphaned pages, which essentially means having a page on your website that isn't linked to from any other page on your website. Because if that's the case, then who's going to find that page? Sometimes when we start working with clients, we'll see lots of pages that have pretty good content and maybe pretty sweet and helpful for somebody looking at that website, but there's no way to find it, so they're never going to see that page. It's kind of the same thing for Google. So you want to find all of the stuff that you worked hard on, link it together so everybody can find it. And then local search is obviously really important. You want to show up for things like, bikes for sale, whatever area you're in. The biggest thing you can do is work on your Google business profile. There's lots of fields. Just fill everything out as completely as you can. Location pages also help, where you can talk about where you are, how to get to you, some of the local landmarks and information about your area. And a way to get a step further is to have pages on your site related to your local area. Like on Matt's website, there's information on where to go riding in Massachusetts and in Dedham specifically. So the more you can build up pages related to your area, the better you have, better your chances of ranking highly for local searches are. So that was kind of some of the things I would think about if you're getting started. When it's time to level up, things that you want to consider, you got to work with professionals if you really want to be smart with your money. I know that you guys have a lot of stuff going on that is always way more in your face and pressing than long-term marketing goals. And working with professionals will help you increase your return on that investment. It'll be more targeted, and you'll waste less of your money and less of your time, which I know you probably have very little of to waste. Professionals can help you make your site healthier. So talk about page load speeds, how it looks on a mobile device, and cleaning up broken links or spam links that might be linking to your website or out. You also want to focus, when you're ready to take it to the next level, focus on stuff that you can ship because our whole goal here is to kind of scale your revenue growth. And the way we can do that is by focusing on things that you can ship to anyone, anywhere, because it's a bit of a hindrance to be working and focusing efforts on brands that you can only sell online to pick up in store, or that you can't ship at all. So just keep that in mind too. That's really where you want to focus. Getting relevant backlinks is also important. What I mean by backlinks is just links from other websites to your website. Backlinks in Google's eyes are kind of like a vote of confidence. So if you have a bunch of links coming from a website that is a authority figure in whatever vertical for you guys, the bicycle industry, that's going to be kind of a +1 vote in Google's eyes. So you can reach out to local organizations, or maybe you'll just get backlinks naturally if you build really great content that's super helpful, whether that be a guide to a certain category of product or a review for a certain bike. If you do a really good job, naturally people will put links to your website, and that's always a good thing. And backlinks are a pretty key part of how Google ranks the authority of a certain website. Professionals will also help you analyze and improve your user experience. And so with that, we're talking about taking a hard look at your checkout process and looking at your navigation on your site, just taking a real hard look at how easy or difficult your site is to use. Because like I said before, if we can reduce friction and help people get what they want and find what they're looking for, we'll make more sales that way. And then lastly, a great thing to think about if you're trying to take it to the next level is think about what your shop does better than anybody else. If you are a specific authority figure or expert in a certain area of cycling, you'll want to hammer that niche and build content around it, because when you focus on specific areas rather than really broad topics, you can improve your performance a little bit quicker, because there's less people searching for more specific stuff. There's more people searching for mountain bikes generally than a very specific section of mountain bikes, for example. And a great example here, a real life example, is we have a client that sells a bunch of trials bikes, and they have people on their staff who've competed at the national level in trials, and they rank really well because they've built lots of great content and authority around trials specifics. So if you have a niche, I don't know, is it like tandems or bike packing or something, that's what you'll want to focus on at least at some point, because if you're an expert, you'll want to show that off. And then I think this is the last tip for leveling up. And this honestly could be its own webinar, and I'm not going to go into all of this, but topical authority and content are some of the biggest buzzwords to think about and strategies to consider. Topical authority is essentially what is how Google thinks about your expertise in a certain area related to keywords of a specific group. So if you have a lot of great content around a specific topic, likely Google will see and grant you more topical authority in that area. And when you have great topical authority on a specific area, that helps not only the content that you create rank well, but it also helps your catalog pages and your product pages rank well. Because if we're ranking or trying to build a bunch of content for clipless pedals, like over on the example to the right, our odds of that particular page ranking well go up once we've got great content around that area. But then also the product pages for those pedals and the catalog pages for the different kinds also in turn rank higher. When you work with professionals, we'll help you target the right keywords that have enough search volume to warrant going after. We'll help you use them appropriately and match what the page is about to the kind of search and the intent of that search, because obviously sometimes there's informational type searches and searches that are more related to people wanting to buy something immediately. This on the right is an example of more of an informational search. And you can see that there aren't really that many ads, or there's not any ads on this particular window of the screenshot. So another thing to keep in mind is you just want to be building content that puts you as an expert on that topic. There's a bunch of information to talk about related to EEAT or EAT and how Google now tries to rank and decide what content it should show. But basically just make yourself an expert, provide experience, be trustworthy, be authoritative. Happy to answer more questions about that later. And lastly, you'll want to just think about all the different kinds of jobs to be done, so to speak. Like, what would a person who comes to your website be looking for or need to find information around? And you deserve content for all of those jobs and all of those areas. So again, with great content comes topical authority, and with topical authority, your pages that are low funnel start to rank better, and you'll be able to grow your revenue. That's a very short explanation of content, but we got to keep it moving. Let's go to PPC. Best advice I can give you is just take a hard look at your internal processes and internal tools, and just make sure that you're ready to do order fulfillment, shipping, online orders, because if you're not, little problems can compound greatly and it can be very stressful. So I've got a couple of lists here about whether who's ready and who's not. And I know who's not ready because the bike shop that I worked at, I love them, but e-commerce was not really a focus. They were mostly in R, focused on rentals. And it would be very scary. Like, I'm very worried to think about them jumping on e-commerce right now. Not to say that they can't get there, but here's just some examples. If you don't know where your inventory is, how much of it you have, you're not ready. If shipping product is super difficult every time, you don't have a good process for it, you're not ready for pay-per-click and e-commerce. If your point of sale system, for example, doesn't know the difference between a single Cliff Bar and a whole box of them, it's not sophisticated enough and you're not ready. And then my favorite example is like us. If you have a bunch of dusty, old helmet boxes full of Planet Bike Blinky 5 taillights, just kind of lurking somewhere underneath a shelf or below a bay in the service department, you're not ready. You are ready if your inventory is tightly managed, you've got a great shipping process and procedure, your point of sale system is sophisticated, can keep up with online orders, and you've got a really tightly managed storage area and you know where everything is. So if you're over on the left, you really should consider ways that you can try to come back and fix those problems, because when you're over here on the right, this is when you can start making money and also not shoot yourself in the foot. The biggest thing that you want to worry about is just focus on the stuff that makes you money and not the stuff that gives you headaches. So we're talking about selling a really nice pair of road shoes that are like $300+ in a very easily shipped and cheaply shipped box, rather than a $50-$60 pair of fenders that's going to cost you like half that amount just to send it to somebody across state lines. So again, focus your efforts on the stuff that makes you money, that high dollar, high margin, fits into your shipping procedures. And then a couple other things for pay-per-click marketing that you can do when you're starting out is run shopping ads. You can connect your point of sale with a tool called Google Merchant Center, and that will help populate those ads that we saw in the very beginning where it was links to specific bikes. That's probably the easiest way to go forward and get into pay-per-click marketing without doing a whole lot. And then if you're starting out, and this is especially true for people who have started and are thinking about doing it themselves to get going, really have a budget in mind and a return on ad spend that you're not willing to go beyond, because I was that guy who had a lot of hats and was trying to figure out pay-per-click at the same time as search engine optimization, at the same time as renting 6 bikes and managing staff. When you're the one doing this, really set goals for yourself that you're not willing to underperform, because I know that I wasn't the best in terms of knowledge with pay-per-click, and I certainly didn't bring a return on ad spend to my business that I was proud of. And this is where you want to be thinking about working with professionals. So that's pretty much my #1 tip for taking PPC to the next level. Pay-per-click marketing professionals know what they're doing. They won't waste your money and your time, and they can bring revenue in ways that you can't. You can also, and these are things that professionals will do for you, is they can build different groups of products and have ads related to things at the category level and at the brand level, and get really specific, optimizing those products for search to be unique, enticing, and just making them really clickable and drive clicks to your website and have people buy them. And the last thing that is really important to think about, whether you're doing it or whether you've hired somebody to do it, is just keep an eye on something called a negative keyword list, because Google will tell you what ads are being clicked on and what searches those ads came up for. And if you're seeing things that are ridiculous or not related to your products that your ads are showing up on, you can add those terms to your negative keyword list, and then they'll stop showing up. So it's a good way to not waste money. So that was kind of ways for people to get started who have already either started to consider e-commerce or jumping in on their own, or wanted to take things to the next level. And then I've got a few tips for everybody, just based on things that have worked for our clients. You'll want to start tracking and, more importantly, analyzing the things that are happening on your website. 2 really important tools to do this are Google Analytics, which tells you what users are doing once they're on your website, and then Google Search Console, which gives you insights into how your website is performing on Google search. We drive a lot of our strategy from the data that comes from these 2 tools. They're relatively easy to set up, and they're a gold mine of information. So you'll definitely want to start tracking this stuff. You can build an email list with MailChimp and use it to promote sales. You can use it for remarketing. You can do a lot of things once you build an email list that can help you supplement all your other online efforts. And we've talked about pay-per-click marketing and search engine optimization mostly in this webinar, but email is a really big part of digital marketing as a whole, and so is social media. I'll go to the next one. Building a community on social. Between social media, email marketing, pay-per-click, and search engine optimization, you've got a really good, strong, healthy portfolio of ways that you're helping bring people to your website. If you are shopping around for a new website platform, or you don't really have a website yet and you're thinking about going for it, we recommend Smart Detailing. A lot of our clients use Smart Detailing. We like it because it's fairly cheap, it ranks pretty well. You can connect with supplier sync, so you can sell things from the warehouse and not directly or just from your sales floor. And then also it integrates with Google Merchant Center nicely, gives you a nice foundational Merchant Center feed so you can start running ads. So it's a great site to get started, and we recommend that if you're just looking to get going. And then there's a few other point of sale options that we like. Ascend and Lightspeed are two that are really sophisticated. They'll keep up with however much e-commerce you want to do, and they connect pretty well with smart detailing as well. So that's pretty much it. I tried to go fast. There was a lot of content there. I hope it was helpful. I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to be able to help you guys. Bikes are a massive part of my life, in my professional and personal life, and the opportunity to help bike shops make more money and sustain is an honor for me. So I'm going to introduce Matt over at Dedham Bike, and if he'll kind of talk about his experience for a few minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions and go from there. So yeah, let's hear from Matt. I think if you unmute and go for it, we should be all right.
Yeah, you guys hearing me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my name is Matt Donavan. I'm the third generation owner of Dedham Bike here. My family's been in the business since the 1920s, and we had multiple stores at one point in the 70s and in the late 80s that my dad, through trial and error, realized that wasn't making any more money than having the single store here in Dedham, and pulled back to Dedham. I got involved in the late 80s and have pretty much been running the show here since the early 90s. So we've kind of been through it all. We've seen it all. We've been through the ebbs and flows of the industry. And, you know, when I kind of took over the helm here, I was looking at ways that we could bring more revenue to the business. And obviously one of the ways was looking at other locations again, trying to throw our hat back in that ring, knowing the pitfalls of that and the added costs and everything, and the uncertainty of that. And the other option was to look at e-com and to increase our internet footprint, if you will, and to monetize that. And, you know, we had hooked up with, you know, Brett during his piece there, mentioned smart detailing. We had hooked up with the guys at Smart Detailing, had a nice site going. It turned on our shopping cart. We're doing minimal business just by being there. And most of the people that were using it were our customers of ours already, who were just using it for the convenience factor. But, you know, I said, there's got to be more to it than this. So I started educating myself a little bit, started doing a little bit of work on my own, got into PPC, started doing some SEO, started getting a little bit of results from that. And then, like Brett said, you got to stay on top of the PPC budget. You got to know where your money's going, and you have to make sure that you're making some money. And that wasn't always the case. I mean, when I really started digging into those other tools, the Google Analytics and Google Search Console and those things, and really seeing what our efforts and our financial results were from that, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. And I became a little bit disillusioned. We were making enough money and clearing enough money and profit to essentially pay for our website and the monthly fee of our smart detailing site, but we weren't making much more than that. We were kind of breaking even after that. And there were times where we did lose money because of mistakes that I made and the pitfalls that I stepped into, you know, not knowing enough, very similar to customers that we all have that, you know, think that they're, you know, a professional bike mechanic, and we know how that all goes. And some of that happened to me in my experience with my first foray into the e-com side of things. So I started kind of poking around a little bit, and Brett mentioned Noah Lerner early on. And I hooked up with Noah through Smart Detailing, actually. We started working together a little bit after he left Smart Detailing and started his own business. And then Noah then became a part of 2 Octobers, and we then became fully integrated with 2 Octobers. I became involved with Brett and his team, and we took a look at what we were doing, what our budget was, where the money was going, where the mistakes were made. We had a lot of really good building blocks in place already. We had a reasonable PPC campaign going. It was there, it was out there. It wasn't running nearly as efficiently as it could be. Brett and his team jumped into that, rectified that situation pretty much overnight. We started actually making money on a pretty much regular basis, much more than we were making before then. We took a look at the SEO efforts that we had in place, or that I had put in place. And, Brett, as Brett mentioned, the man of many hats, we have all been there. I was also the man of many hats, and sometimes still continue to be, more than I probably should be, but that's me. And we looked at our SEO efforts, and we started with local. We started with, how are we stacking up against our local competition? We're right outside we're west of Boston by about 10 miles. We're in an absolute hotbed of the cycling industry, surrounded by some of the biggest retailers in the cycling industry. And, we've been around a while, but we definitely were getting a little bit buried by the big guys locally. So we took a look at our local SEO efforts. We bulked those up. We threw a little bit of budget at that. We spent some money there. Really started seeing those efforts pay off through traffic to the website. That also then spread out to our social media following, which, works as Brett mentioned. It's a flywheel. So the website started working in conjunction with social media. Social media started kicking back to the website. We got that flywheel rolling pretty solid, and saw a bump in business here at brick and mortar. And then we really started to pay attention to the e-commerce side of things, and really digging into Google, and really leveraging all the technology that was available to us through that process. And it really started to pay off, and continues to do so. I've going back to when I first got involved in the business, I remember there were some options, back in the day for bike shops to become involved in some programs. Raleigh at one point was running a program that, it was basically a fulfillment program. And a lot of the dealers in this area really poo-pooed it. And they said, well, why do I want to help Raleigh make money? And then I said, well, don't we want a piece of that pie? A little bit of piece of that pie is better than no piece of that pie. And the pie is huge. And we're not, I think, as small retailers, most of us, we're not getting enough of that pie. And I think that by putting in place some of these things that we're talking about, it helps you to go out and get a piece of that pie that you're entitled to. Simply by spending a little bit of money, and by spending some time with a professional who knows what they're doing. You can really take that dollar spent and magnify that 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times. If you know what you're doing. So we did that, and we were able to really cast a much broader net, and we started getting some of that pie back. I think as an industry, and some of us have been around this a long time, we tend to always be concerned with how the IBD down the street is doing and what they're up to. And, we always look at them as our direct competition. And in today's world, that's not always true. Our direct competition isn't necessarily the IBD 2 towns over. It's REI, it's Dick's, it's Amazon. It's all these people. It's the big online sellers. We know who those guys are. I'm not going to mention their names, but those are the guys that we're competing against. And realistically, in this technology world that we live in, it's a fact. It's just the way it is. And I think the old school way of doing business just isn't. It's just not the way forward at this point. I think we need to leverage those tools. We need to take a look at what's available. We need to take a look at what budget we have available. And we're not talking big dollars here either, guys. I mean, I started off with a very small budget, and still realistically have a small budget. I mean, we get every nickel and every dime out of the budget that we have available through Brett and 2 October's help. I mean, they have a certain amount of money to work with each month, and we eke every bit of revenue that we can from that budget. And that has taken some time. I mean, I started doing this realistically and really working with Noah and then Brett and 2 October's, 8+ years ago, probably 10+ years ago now, realistically. And it's taken time for that flywheel to really, really get rolling. But once it gets rolling, it can be an incredible benefit to your business and a new arm to your business that you're currently you're missing out on. So, you know, I guess to kind of keep this thing short, I highly recommend, you know, reaching out to Brett and his team, having a consultation with those guys, you know, taking a look at your business, taking a look at your goals, what you want to try and achieve, and they'll hammer out a plan. They'll help you formulate a budget based on what you're trying to do. And, you know, maybe that budget doesn't work. Maybe you need to roll that back. Maybe you need to throw a few extra dollars in, but doing that, you know that it's being done properly, and you know that you have somebody who has your back, that if your PPC spend goes off the rails, if your ROAS numbers or return on investment numbers aren't right, they're gonna let you know. You know, they're gonna make sure that you're not wasting money, and they have your best interest at heart. And I feel 100% confident working with Brett and his crew. I mean, it's been nothing but a benefit to our business, and it's really allowed us to punch way beyond, you know, way above our weight class, honestly. And I think that anybody who's looking to bring more revenue into your business, it's a must do at this point, and something we all should really be taking a look at. So that's my experience.
Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate all those insights.
Welcome. You're very welcome, guys. Thank you.
Well, Heather, I was just gonna send us to the Q&A slide and open it up. If you guys have anything you want to add, go for it.
Yeah, we already have a question that came in, so we can get right into the questions if you're ready for it.
Yeah, let's do it. If I don't have an answer right here, right now for whatever it is, I can reach out to whoever later today.
Perfect. All right, so the question that came in first is, if a store doesn't have great aspirations in e-commerce, but is using its website primarily to lure customers into the physical store, is it still worth getting help for SEO and PPC?
That's a great question that I'm really glad that I think Neil asked. Just open up the chat here, because I actually meant to mention something that I didn't quite get to, and I wanted to take a minute, but totally is the answer, yes. So my old bike shop, I'm currently wearing the t-shirt of it just in the spirit of the occasion. They make all their money pretty much renting to tourists that come to that area to ride bikes and explore. They don't really do e-commerce, and they've always been really hesitant. It's a 87-year-old business at this point, and has always been one of like, well, we're going to do it like we've always done it, and we don't need to complicate it. And, you know, this isn't how we do stuff. I'm happy to say that we can drive more traffic to your website for the people who are looking for your stuff. So if, like I said, you know, say you're that Pivot Bikes dealer in Salt Lake City, that's search engine optimization that can help you show up for that stuff. Same thing with clicks, especially if you're into rentals, or if you make a lot of money in the service department, or at least enough to warrant going after that. You can target searches like that, you know, bike repair, you know, Toledo or whatever. I don't know why that was the first city that came to my mind, but yes, definitely worth it. You can influence the searches that have local intent, and you can drive people into your store. You don't have to worry about all of the things that come with going after e-commerce at a large scale just to reap some benefits from search engine optimization and pay-per-click. And yeah, you'll definitely be able to see results. And I'm happy to say that the bike shop that I worked at, who was a holdout for so long, is starting work with us next month with SEO for a few months, and then PPC just in the months that it matters. So we're building out product pages, related to bike rentals in their area, so that Google thinks they are a topical authority on that area, and in that specific like physical area. And then we'll be driving people to their website, to the reservation page for searches like that. So when, you know, people are heading over to Nantucket, Massachusetts, which is where that shop is, and they're on the boat and they're thinking about renting bikes, bike rentals, Nantucket. The goal is for during the season to show ads for that search for that particular business and organic listings that we've bumped up to the top of the search engine result page for those searches as well. So yes, long answer, but yeah, worth it. You don't have to do e-commerce. We can drive people to your website who are looking for the things that you do.
Perfect. We've got a good number of questions that came in, so I'm just going to go one by one here in order of when they came in. So the next one is what is, or is there a minimum amount I would need to spend, and is there a pricing structure?
Well, every agency is going to be different. Working with us, I can probably send over the whole list of like what we do, and at this point, we're typically not doing search engine optimization for clients that have a SEO budget of like $1,000 or less. Usually, it's like a little bit more. Sometimes it's a lot more. Sometimes it's right on that level. And then pay-per-click, it can be kind of whatever, but there's a percentage that agencies will take, and it's less the more that you spend. There's a whole price bracket of stuff that I can try to connect with BFF Bikes later related to that. But the thing to think about would be sometimes it takes a long time for search engine optimization to really kick into gear. If you're trying to get at it with a really small budget, you're going to see slower results than if you really went after it and built a bunch of stuff, improved a bunch of pages. So just keep that in mind. Like the amount of money that you spend, the more you spend, the faster you'll see results, because you'll be putting more effort into it, making better pages and making more better pages. And then with pay-per-click, you can spend less, but what we've found is we've been able to help our clients improve their return on ad spend and spend more, because budgets are often limited by the amount of money they have to spend. And if they have a very small budget and you're competing for highly competitive keywords, you may not see a really great return right away. It all kind of depends, unfortunately, is the answer. But I would just think about investing for the long term. And yeah, hopefully we can get your email and talk about that more if you have more questions.
Hey, Brett, can I chime in for a sec?
Yeah, Matt, if you have also experience too that you want to add here, be my guest for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that when I first started doing this myself, I that was obviously a concern. It was like, we had a minimal budget. We weren't sure if it was even worth doing. Like, I'm like, well, how much are we going to get back from this? Could I use that money elsewhere? And, you know, once it becomes clear that you're going to take that, that you use $1,000, let's say $1,000, and you're going to, and I remember one time somebody said this to me about PPC and SEO, is if you hand me $1,000 and I hand you back $5,000, wouldn't you want to do that 10 times over? And that is the power of SEO and PPC. And PPC, obviously, you're going to get that direct result almost immediately, like you mentioned earlier. SEO is more of a marathon than the sprint. You know, I think we need to be clear on that, because once the SEO, it takes time, like Brett has mentioned many times. It takes time. It can take 6 months. It can take a year. But once that starts going, and then Google starts seeing those signals, and they start looking at you as the expert in all these things, then that whole thing just starts building up momentum. But it doesn't happen overnight. So if you're looking at the quick hit, I think the PPC is great for the quick hit. If you're more of a patient person, and you're willing to spend that money knowing that it may not come back to you for a few months, which is scary. That's a scary proposition. You know, we like to get a quick return on our money, generally speaking, but SEO, unfortunately, is not that. It's going to take some time. But once it starts turning and spinning, you're going to be really happy with the results. I mean, that's just all I would say on that.
Yeah, to go off of that point, is if you're focusing on return on ad spend, then you can let that kind of guide your ship in the direction you want to go. We have had clients that both are like, stick to this budget, don't go over this budget unless we talk about it. And then we have other clients that are like, hey, if I'm hitting it 6+ ROAS, go for it, do whatever you want. If you're making us money, that's all we care about. So there's different approaches. But I just also want to quickly point out a couple of things. Noah, who's been a big part of my journey to being an expert in this field, has been chiming in on chat too. So take a look at what he's saying, talking about how e-commerce has improved in-store sales as well, and how I think the NBDA, you guys say 3% of growth on marketing and digital marketing should be a fairly straightforward number, and I'm sure you guys can talk about that more as well. I see another question about product feed from John. Yeah, and the product feed is what's going to populate those shopping ads, because Google needs to know what you have and what you don't and what you can send people. So Smart Etailing, for example, will give you, like I said, that basic foundational feed that can integrate with those tools. You just need those two things to talk to each other, and then you can start doing pay-per-click effectively, especially for products. You don't need a feed for sending people to your homepage, but shopping ads are really helpful. I know you guys are probably dealing with a lot of inventory glut at the moment. Just it's been, I can't believe I haven't really mentioned this, but it's been a super wild couple of years, and we've been able to help our clients weather that storm and come out in a good place. But shopping ads can really help you move some of that product that you're sitting on. Let's see. If you want to go, so Jason says, if you want to go deep on all this stuff, where would you learn? I think that's the nature of the question. Like, you want to learn more about this yourself. So I will say that there's a few websites that are great to look into for search engine optimization. There's tons. That's my area, so I can speak to that more freely. But there's sites like Ahrefs, which is spelled the letter A, Hrefs. And it's just a reference to like an SEO thing, nerdy thing. But they have lots of great content that's easy to understand about search engine optimization and PPC, mostly search engine optimization. But them and another company or another website called SEMrush, which is SEM Rush, RUSH.com. Those would be great resources to get started. There's tons of stuff out there, but those are two really big players that you can learn a lot from. Pay-per-click, I'm objectively not a pay-per-click master, so I'd probably have to get back to you on our team's internal or favorite internal or external resources. Google Merchant Center has Google has a really vast support portal where you can learn a ton about what you need to do for each part of their process. So the simple answer for the Google stuff, like Google Merchant Center specifically, is to go to like the support center within Google, and there's like hundreds of articles that are very easy to understand and helpful. So I would start there with Merchant Center, and you can also find lots of helpful information across the website across the web from other sites as well. And the last thing that I'll say, just a shameless plug here, is like I have done, and we do, 2 Octobers does training engagements. So if you want to get self-sufficient and do it on your own, we do training as well. And I've worked with one bike shop to help their internal team understand what all this stuff means and how to work on it themselves. So that may or may not apply to you. A lot of people don't really have that kind of manpower. This was like a 5-location business. in question, so they had staff, but we do that as well. If you want to go down that road, you can get in touch with us. So our site is WordPress. So I'll just read the question. Our site is WordPress platform can you still support? We have some SEO work done and has done well, but not much else. We're a tourist heavy area and smaller. This was super helpful. Oh, nice. Thanks, Chelsea. So yeah, we can do WordPress. WordPress is probably the biggest platform out there in terms of websites for people across the internet. And yeah, we can definitely work on WordPress websites and improve your search engine optimization through that platform. So MailChimp versus Constant Contact. I don't have a whole lot of experience with Constant Contact. I might have to get back to you on that one. Not sure if anybody else has any information on that one, but feel free to throw any answers in chat, and I can try to follow up with you guys later. If hopefully, Rochelle, you maybe can help me get in contact with people, because I can only just see the names. But yeah, we can get in touch later about that. I just know with MailChimp, it's really easy to build out emails and manage everything. So that's the one that I have the most experience with and like to go with. We don't do email marketing really. So that's kind of something I don't have a ton of insights into regarding the differences in the platforms and services, but happy to look into it for you and try to give you some answers. Not sure I'll give Matt's exact budget on that question. Matt started out small and has worked his way up. He's like Matt said, he's still kind of you can spend a lot of money on marketing, and his is still pretty conservative and moderate, but he's been able to get a lot of results out of it. And I think that's all I can say without getting in trouble, unless you have other ideas, Matt.
No, I would just add to that, Brett, that it's smaller than you may think.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think again, it's being efficient in knowing that whatever your budget may be is being used appropriately is as important as anything. I mean, you can throw 10 grand a month at something, and if you're not making any money, it doesn't matter. So that's all I would say there.
Yeah. So Bike Hub asks, how important are big players like Bing and the rest of those kinds of search engines in comparison to Google? Not very is the example. I don't exactly know the last study that came out of like the percentage of who's using what search engine, but it's Google in the 90s, like by a lot. Bing's second, but we focus all of our efforts on optimizing for Google because that is how the vast majority of people search the internet. I like the idea of all of those, other search engines, especially the ones that, give back in terms of money they make through ads to good causes. But, this is capitalism we're talking about, and we're trying to make our clients money, and we focus on Google because that's where it's all going down. So Shorebreak Cyclery says her husband's a little nervous to make the jump. So yeah, reach out for sure. We'll be happy to talk with you. Any of you guys, you got my email on this slide. One thing I just wanted to note really quick, and I'm sorry if I didn't say this before, but if you click on that link, I think we can send you guys all of the slides later on. I did another webinar based on just using search engine optimization to drive e-com. So it's like an even more focused look at stuff that we talked about today. Go check that out. There's some really cool information in there. And I go over something that I wanted to talk about in this, but didn't really have time, which is our, and Noah's, I should say, e-commerce revenue formula that we kind of use as our secret sauce to really think about what we're trying to impact and how we can improve certain areas of our funnel to make more money. It's all in there. So check that out if you want to hear me talk more. It's hopefully will be helpful. So locally, does locally also work, or to work to feed Google Ads? No, I don't know if you're still here, but if you are, not sure I have that answer off the top of my head. I can definitely get that. Sorry.
Locally is a service that takes shops inventory and puts it on the brand's websites as a shop local feature. So I don't know if they do.
I don't think it, so yeah, without knowing a whole lot, I would say no. I don't really know all the ins and outs of how locally works. I know that, as you say, Rochelle, it's more of like what's in stock on a brand that you're already visiting. But I don't think that has any part to play in Google Ads.
Yeah. We are getting more and more questions, and I know Heather and I need to jump off in a few minutes here. So if we can do maybe one or two, and then I would say all the rest of the questions, we will make sure to answer via email. And if you have any more questions, I would encourage you to send it to either info@nbda.com or Brett's email, which is on the screen there. And I see Noah's proposing separate just questions only. So if you'd like to do that, that's great. But we can answer all of the rest of the questions on here via email afterward.
Yeah, so just seeing Noah's chat there, we're happy to jump on a separate Zoom, and anybody who wants to funnel over there, we can answer more questions. And Noah's a really great brain to pick, so definitely do that. I'm down if you have time, Noah. I'll just pick one more question and then let you guys get back to it. Let's see. So let's talk about MSRP, I guess. Obviously, everybody's got stuff on sale right now because there's so much inventory after, some of it we know was even kind of forced down your throats. But yeah, we are. So search engine optimization will help us rank the pages that are always going to be there. And we're not always sending people to sales pages like seasonal sales or specific products that are on sale. We're actually rarely doing that because we don't want to invest time in search engine optimization into a page that's not going to be there eventually. So if it's like a sale that's happening for only a few weeks, we're not going to invest a whole lot of money. What we care about is stuff that's evergreen, meaning it's always going to be there. So that's like a catalog page. If you sell a bunch of mountain bikes, we're going to be optimizing mountain bike pages. That is to say that some of that stuff is on sale just naturally in the catalog, and people do buy that. But there are certain times, especially in this market right now, where people know stuff is on sale and they're shopping around for deals, and the people who have product on sale are really being successful with that. But we're not focusing our efforts just on things that are on sale. With pay-per-click and SEO, a lot of it is mostly full retail price. So hopefully that answered your question. We are having success there. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'll jump into Noah's Zoom here after this, but yeah, appreciate the platform and opportunity from NBDA, and it was a pleasure.
Yeah, Brett and Matt, thank you so much. Nice to spend this time with you. Great information here, jam-packed, and look forward to sharing this on our YouTube channel as well. And everyone who's on, have a great afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Take care.
Thanks
Appreciate
so
it.
much.